All right, here we go. Mm, I am Dima. I am a CEO at GDE.design. It's been working as an independent agency 3+ years now. Before that, I was working in like lots of um, outsourcing IT companies in Ukraine, and I was working in some products as a product designer. And here are like some of my very favorite guys who I work with. Some of them are Ukrainian companies. Like, for example, this one is a real cool crypto startup. And I worked also with those big guys, World Economic Forum, maybe you've heard of them. And like, we had, we just, as a lot of other UI/UX companies, provide real cool stuff for businesses and startups. But startups is like my favorite segment to work with. But today we're gonna talk about artificial intelligence tools and how this can be implemented in our work. I see, guys, that you're very prepared in this domain. You at least have heard of Midjourney or Chat, and those are the tools that we will talk about today mostly. I think I have maybe a dozen of my favorite AI tools, which I use maybe not daily, but at least a few times a week. And here are some of them. Those two, for example, Write Sonic and Jasper, are very helpful if you work on some text format content, whether it's an email or blog post or description for your dribble shot, whatever. This is just a brief overview before we dive into that. You're familiar with ChatGPT, which is a cool AI tools which works in a format of conversational user interface. This is Midjourney that can generate images right from your text. And if someone has faced, for example, a problem with the registration with ChatGPT because it was very limited in Ukraine, you could try U.com. U.com, I think they're trying to compete with Google and they replicate what their interface and functionality look like. But what I love most about U.com is their chat. Let's check if it just works. Yeah, okay, it works. And the cool thing about this chat is that it is based on ChatGPT. So if you, for some reason, cannot access the ChatGPT itself, you can try U.com. Some also cool tools that generate people like avatars that can process a video for you or instead of you. You just need to set your text there and the videos will be generated. I will share this presentation right after the workshop and you will be able to Google all these cool instruments when you have time and inspiration, of course. But today we're going to stop on those two, which I found very helpful in the work of UX designers. I will ask you guys to now write minus in the chat for those who don't use TikTok. All right. All right. This is so cool. Okay. This is a very important question. I'm not the ones who will agitate you like aggressively, but I have a story that like happened to me about 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was fall, like November or whenever. And I had a feeling that I stuck in the same stream of content, whether it is Instagram or YouTube. Like it, it was like feeling it is all the same every day. But like Ukraine is in the phase of war now. So all my news, all my updates were about war. And that kind of was it. And I felt that I was willing some self-development, which was blocked by the same stream of content. So I decided to give a chance to TikTok, and this kind of really changed my life. I really mean that because it took about, let's say, a week for TikTok algorithms to start feeding me a real cool and relevant content, which I was really surprised of. And I've even started like blogging myself because I've been in the profession of UX design like 10 years now. And I was feeling that I know a lot of stuff. So why don't I try myself as a person who talks about UX in the context of business? Because this is what my super skill is. So we build real startups, and I can just prove that about 70+% of them succeed. And for me, it was like a real cool statistics. So I started doing my blogging stuff. The cool thing about TikTok is that all the freshest and coolest updates come in there first. And only like in a month or so, they start appearing on Instagram. And this was like a real cool, fresh air for me. And I adore that talk generates the content, not generates, but fits the content to my most relevant topics. For example, in a month or so, we just started generating the content about UX, about startups, about businesses, about music, and about AI, of course. And this is in that stream, I found all these new tools, ideas, or projects for businesses that allowed me to prepare this particular workshop for you guys. So if you are not like on TikTok yet, it's maybe time to think if you have a lack of a fresh information on the internet now. So let's move on. One day I found a real cool video on TikTok, or it founded me, and it was about the collection of AI tools. It was of this second service, Futurepedia, where like you see now, it's an two AI tools storage. It's all categorized. I'll show you now. It's all categorized, and you can switch between the categories. And like the first part of our workshop will be about the tools that will help you to create some visual stuff or create drafts rapidly. And you can just sort it here, and you will see all the AI tools that are relevant to this topic. And this is so cool. So one day I just started browsing all of them, and it just sucked me in. Really, it sucked me in. And this another service is just an analog, but it also has some community elements. So it is more kind of engaging, not just a library of AI tools, but they also have a community. Let's go to the very first part of the workshop, and it is all about visual stuff. And I was thinking on the title for the first part, but the other day I just asked ChatGPT to generate a joke for me. So here is what I got. Anyways, my journey started even before I signed up with TikTok, started with Midjourney. The experience was so cool, but the algorithms there were not so cool yet, but I could understand how everything works, how I can just give a prompt to an AI to generate some images. And this was like the first AI to like the first AI tool I've ever used. And I started exploring it, started thinking on how this can be applied to my work, to what I'm doing. And in the end, I found lots of use cases that I want to share today. It is absolutely like fair that all the graphic designers or illustrators who I tried to talk about the Midjourney, they feel stressed because of this, because they feel that one day they can lose their work. And I do understand their feelings, but this is not the right thought though, because I will explain you why later. Oh yeah. Okay. And here is the face of each of the graphic designer when I start talking about that. So if you have never, guys, just once again, sorry, if you have never used Midjourney, please write my NS in the chat. I remember it was Nick's. Yeah. All right. At least 5 people. 6. Okay. Then I will start a bit over. Midjourney is an AI tool that allows to generate images based on your text description. So you can just provide a prompt. It is called like a prompt in this sphere. You can describe what you want to see in there, what should be the context of this image, what should be the style, and even what kind of render should it be. And the AI algorithms, Midjourney will try to generate the most precise image according to your request. This is what their website looks like. Like when you come in there for the first time, you think that it's some kind of metrics and maybe that's not the right place to start with. But in the end, when you figure out how to do that, you just getting started. You need to be signed up also with Discord because all the functionality of Midjourney is being processed through Discord. Discord is, I don't know how to call it. Like it's a kind of, maybe you use Slack or whatever chat for communication with your design team or development team. Is Discord, I think, was originally done for gamers, but now it got more popular after Midjourney has started like processing all their like images generated with their interface. So this is that simple. I think it could be also managed with a Telegram. Like, why not? It is just the same textual interface, but for some reason they use Discord. But that doesn't really matter. So how this works, I will do that real briefly. You can unmute, for example, and give me some idea, and I will show you how this works if you don't want to. But I think that it would be real cool if you have never seen that before. So you can unmute, and if you have an idea for the picture to generate, just turn your mic on. Anyone?
We can do the test like with that sample message in type preview. The quick brown fox jumps over a lazy dog.
Let's do that. Before you type the prompt, what you want to be in the image, you need to select the command. I will not really want to dive deep into how that works and how the principles it follows to generate the image itself, but I just want to show you briefly the process to inspire you, and you will find then a lot of tutorials how to do that. Could you please repeat?
The quick brown fox jumps over a lazy dog.
Okay, how Midjourney works. First, you describe what you want to see. Then you can add some words about the composition. Then you can give some words which can be also like very abstract to describe the mood of the image you want to get. And then you add some technical stuff like render, camera type, or you can set the style, like it can be cartoonish or it can be Wes Anderson style, whatever. So you can do literally all that. And now I will explain you like how they did that. Okay, let's do very request for now. I hope it will not be like in the end with the brown fox. All right. So why I personally love Midjourney? There are like three main competitors on the market, and those are Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion. Today, I found the information that Midjourney is based on Stable Diffusion, but I couldn't found any proofs of that. But maybe some founders of both like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney are the same. So let's see what we got. Okay, it is not that bad. Just in case. And just in case.
Dog.
Yeah, but you can play with that. You can regenerate. You can upscale one of like any of those already pre-generated versions, or you can also create 4 versions from each of those. And it is so fun, of course, like already. So let's, for example, do versions of this second. So how it counts, like it's version 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is a button to regenerate. The U is for upscale, the V is for variations. So if you, for example, love this one, like in our case, we just click V and it creates a variation of this particular image. I think this is clear. All right. So not very big difference between those, but the corgi is still cool. I'm not sure if this looks like a fox. Doesn't matter. All right, let's go back to the three competitors. Why I personally love Midjourney. First of all, because of course, this is the tool I've started to play with from the very beginning. So it was the very first tool I used. If we set the same request to like all these different tools, Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion, you see the difference. The first one on the left is Midjourney. The second one is DALL-E. And the request was something like spaceman in a space around Earth or something like that. Sorry, someone was saying something. All right. So this is on the left, just Midjourney. This is DALL-E. And the third one is Stable Diffusion. It is not that bad, but when you look at Midjourney, that it is really cool, stylized. And this is one of the benefits of Midjourney. They did a kind of half illegal stuff. They trained their algorithms on 5 billion images on the internet. And also, if I'm right, I think Midjourney was created by guys who founded this site for graphical artists. So they literally trained their algorithms on the images on this social or portfolio network. And they recently was sued by 3 artists from the DeviantArt. I found this article just today. I will drop it in chat. If you decide to bother it a bit, I hope everything is fine. Okay, so yeah, coming back to what those 3 tools generate, we can say that Midjourney stands out. This is because the algorithms were trained on styles, on like hundreds of styles. And this is why even when we don't set the style in the description, in the prompt, the generation looks very stylish, very cool looking. It always has a great composition. See here, even here it applies the golden ratio and everything looks so good and like contrast to each other, like background to the foreground and to the character and so on. This is why the guys are having troubles right now. Let's go to the more like utility of all this stuff, how Midjourney can be used in the work of UI UX designers. Like recently we've started using it just for fitting up the creation of UI concepts, visual concepts, and dribble shots. And this is just one of them. The shot created by Nastya. She is also here on the workshop supporting me. Thank you so much. And this is just one of the cases. And this application is a real application. So the clients just didn't, how do I say this? They supported the idea to have AI generated images in their app because this reduces the cost of the creation of the app itself, right? And all these graphics and speed up the process because you don't have to wait at least a day or 2 from an illustrator to get the very first sketches of what should be in the app. But you can apply that. And it is time like to forget, like 100% forget about the stock images, which is fair enough. And I think everyone is already pissed off by the stock images. So here are the first 3 cases where Midjourney can be used. Then this is like our next shot, but also the graphics done with Midjourney can be done, for example, for the product shots. What I mean by that, like you have a client who, let's see what I have here. Okay, let's say they want to create custom wheelhouses on the base of Bitly, right? But they don't have any photo shoots or any images of what they are working on. So you can simply do that here in Midjourney and create some images that you can then apply to the visual concept of the website, for example, or to their brand materials which they will use. And this will look like something that is much better than just stock images. We also try to why Midjourney working on branding, and I will come back to this in just a few slides, and logo concepts, which is so cool. And also, if you work with the styles, like when you describe the style of what you want to get from Midjourney, you can even get something real close to illustrations, to something that your illustrator or graphic designer in your team would deliver, but you do that much faster. The original point to create Midjourney, as their founders say, was to speed up the process of crafting. So it was done for creating drafts, but more quickly. For example, I know that the illustrator in my team and GDE.design creates an average illustration, and it takes her 3 to 4 hours to be created, but it will be super cool. But if I want to show a few visual concepts for tomorrow to my client, I will rather generate images in Midjourney than I will rely on somebody else, because this speeds up the process. But if this depends on how you communicate with the clients. For example, if your client admits the style, like if they confirm that everything is super cool visually, you can just push this style to your graphic designer and they will just replicate it and multiply the scenes to follow the context of your website, for example. Also, the graphics are generated in Midjourney, just perfectly works for SMM, for print design, for packaging, and like for all the commercials and all that kind of stuff. As I said, you can in minutes really generate a pack of graphics to apply them faster to your UI or visual concept, which I think is powerful. Okay, coming to Brandon now. My wife recently launched a brand of luxury scarves, which is called Fractals. But I do realize that she already had her branding and then a logo of that. But I decided one day to just play around how would Midjourney generate that for me. So this is why you just go to Midjourney bot and describe what your brand is about. You can avoid, for example, naming it because it applies text part poorly yet. And I think this is okay because it just sees an image as an image, not as a text. And you can create like dozens of concepts that you can later on trace and convert into vector format that you can adjust later. And I think this is so. And coming back to when you work on startups and your client don't yet have photos of their products, you can try to also generate them with Midjourney, just setting a detailed prompt. So the work of designer is coming more to ideation, and this speeds up your craft work, right? But you still generate the ideas, not the machine, not AI algorithms, not Midjourney. You need to feed your ideas to it, and it will just generate concepts for you. And this is what I found real cool, and this can be efficiently implemented into our work, and even into the work of graphic and branding and other like graphic designers. I think we're coming to the end here for the image generating tools. And here are also a couple of my real cases that I created just for my art. So this is, for example, a cover of our single song, and this is the other one. And I think this looks so cool. So instead of creating ones in Figma or Sketch or asking a designer or like Illustrator to create one for you, you can now simply do that easily. Oh, we're supposed to be here. Okay. Yeah, I have talked about this. So unfortunately, I think in a year or so, we will use the stock images to create only funny stickers for Telegram. This will be it. Yeah. One big question now about the visual design now is that every second person in the world is trying themselves in Midjourney and start creating thousands of images. So users of Midjourney are much more than graphic designers in the world. But I think that maybe in a couple of years, the era of quantity will just pass away and we will enter the era of quality. Because now, if you, for example, use any AI that generates images, you start distinguishing AI generated images from painted ones. And this is why this is still the case. For now, I think the quality will win in this process. Also, just one of my other cases is a channel on YouTube. The music itself is written by real people, but the visual part of it is fully generated in Midjourney. Like that. And I even found a real tool that generates videos based on just a single slide, which you can also generate, or you can set up yours. Like you can upload or generate right there. It's two codes. I think I can find an analog tool now. Oh, this manual panel. All right. So here is just one of them. Yep. And this one. And this one. Come on. No. Yeah, I think the one. So that should be the tool that allows you to create a short animation from just a single slide, from a single image. But that's a bit far from the UI and UX stuff. So yeah, creator is the core. What it means for me is that people who work with visual graphics or with UI and UX design will still lead this process. But that really depends on us, whether we will compete in the nearest future or we will not. Because if we master these tools, it's just about our hard skills. And this allows even a non-creative people to be creative, to create graphic design from just what they think they could get describing that in a text format. That was the first part, all about visual. It was maybe brief enough, not that detailed, but you can ask your questions now until we switch to the second one. Oh, wow. Okay, let me just talk a bit. Do you see my chat, guys? Do you see that I have chat opened here? Because I'm reading from your chat. Nope.
I can see it.
All right. Well, I will stop sharing just for a second. All right. Scrolling down.
I just answered several questions from your listeners, from your subscribers. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you so much.
Yeah, that's just, I'm using Midjourney a lot for my entertainment. So yeah, I answered some questions from your listeners. I'm your assistant.
Okay, here is a good question. Does Midjourney produce the exact copy of what someone will type the same prompt? No, it creates a unique image each time it sees a prompt. So even if you type the same prompt twice or a dozen of times, the result will be always different. So this kind of simplifies the licensing of the images generated in Midjourney. Yep.
Can I interact? Thing is that this is the question, because when you write same prompt you write the same seed, you write the same version and all the way. So you can get the same image or really
it will be close. It will be close
yes.
from the
that's what I'm saying.
Style or like composition or even like qualities of the character. We're talking about generating some portrait.
Right.
It can be very alike, but it will be always unique.
Right. But it depends on the version of the Midjourney. By the way, because
didn't know that. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah. The cases that I read, like the Midjourney forum, and they said that in different versions of Midjourney, they changed something, blah, 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 but they change something every day or every other day. So yes, they just showed in the forum that if you write the same query, you write the same seed, you write the same version, and then you get the same images.
All right, cool. Good to know. I didn't know that. Nice. Thanks.
Good to have me, no?
Absolutely. Guys, if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer, or I can do that. If no, we will go to the more interesting stuff now.
This was boring, really.
All right.
Man,
Yes.
come on, let's go.
Okay. Let's then move on. The second part will be maybe 100% or 90% about the UX. I was asking ChatGPT to generate a cool joke about this, but to just make it out. So I did it myself. What is the difference between ChatGPT and Google? So Google, everyone knows how Google works. It gives you just a dozen of links. Some of them are paid. So this is why they will be on the top. But ChatGPT, when you ask a question in a precise way, it will try to give you the most relevant and accurate answer in the text format. However, if you ask ChatGPT to provide you with the links to prove like this or that information, it can do that. So ChatGPT is a conversational AI. It means that you can just literally talk to it. This is the version of ChatGPT I use. And when you just ask, oh, you don't see my screen. I need to go back to the slides because I was working on that name like some time. Here is the name of the second part of the workshop. I think it's all right. ChatGPT is a conversational tool that just answers your questions in the way you talk to people. Not more and not less. Sometimes it gives you a very smart answer. Sometimes the answer is so irrelevant and dumb. That happens. So that's why, as I always say, the main skill of a designer is to ask the right questions. So here is what happens when ChatGPT comes into the game. I use the playground version of ChatGPT. I think it's like a version for developers where you can set some filters, make some additional settings and all that stuff. But I never use that. I am just enough that it thinks better than the original ChatGPT for just regular users. Let me find it. I will show you what it looks like if it works, because sometimes it is overloaded and you just will not be able to even start using it. Okay, it works. This is what it looks like now. So you do the same here. You just type your question and it will give you an answer. But the case is, as far as I understand, that the servers are, you see how like it takes him too long to give me an answer here, and it answers much faster here. So this is why I adore Playground. So if you decide one day to start using ChatGPT, just Google ChatGPT Playground. What is cool about it? Yes, please go mute. Thank you. All right. So it can literally give you an answer to any of your questions. You can ask whatever you want. But today we're talking in the context of design. So let's just jump into that right away. So use cases, very light, the lightest use case for it. Like I know that a lot of beginning designers still in the 2023 using lorem ipsum in their concepts, whether they work on a mobile app design or a website, they still use it. And even from time to time, I see that on Dribble. And for me, this is a real cool indicator of the professional level of the designer. So this is just a very light use case how it can be used. So for example, you're working on a website for a brand of cosmetics, like facial cosmetics. and you need a title for your hero section, for example. So we just ask it, please create a title for my brand, or can be like whatever brand name, and it gives you. So it will generate the title in a second. And it is also like in this case, this is a description for a shot on Dribble. If you guys familiar with Dribble, I hope you are. I will not even talk about that. So this is always the case for designers who hate writing. And ChatGPT is a great. Do you remember like it was a T9 on your mobile phones that kind of in your text you're typing? So this is an extended version of that T9 bot, if we can say so. If you want to see not just a single version of this, you can ask it to make a list of 10 versions, and it will do that for you easily. I use ChatGPT to, for example, if we're coming back to my stuff, to create names for all these videos and to all the video descriptions, but only the name of the channel was generated, not generated, was created by me. So this is the first use case. The second use case, was like one of the first I found using ChatGPT, was creating a user persona. This works just perfectly if you know what your project is about, and if you at least know who your target audience are, like at least briefly. In my case, the target audience of the project was solar engineers, which is like a very rare profession, I guess, because I have never met real people who are solar engineers. So this is why it complicates the process of your user research. And this is even hardly Googleable. But when I asked ChatGPT to create a persona for me, it generated, I think, like 90% valid and relevant persona, which was later confirmed by my client. Next, user research. Like, I'm sure you have guys heard of dating or dating apps or Tinder, or maybe even designed for a dating apps. And a dating app is one of my also ongoing projects. And I decided to check how ChatGPT would simplify the research, because what we usually do looks like this. I will show you. Don't do any screenshots. So this is how we conduct usually. So this is an empathy map. So we collect all this data and feedback from Quora and Reddit, and then we do this competitor analysis. I'm sure you do this as well. And then we'll create a matrix of their features and all that stuff. So it's a lot of work. It's like maybe 100 of hours of work here. What does ChatGPT? It like changes the game forever. You can now reach your users just by asking to provide you a list of data points of why users, why people use dating apps or whatever app you're working on, and it will just give you all that. For me, this is gold for designers. So working in this manner, and again, going to the main skill of designer, this is just priceless. Same when we are talking about the competitor research. If you know what your project is about, and if you know the market your clients are going to launch your product on, whether it's US, Canada, like Europe, whatever, you can find your top competitors in a single sentence or in a single question. And same we can do when we already start ideating around the functionality of your project. And like I'm always facing that clients really don't know how to monetize their, despite their maybe serial entrepreneurs, or maybe this is not their first project they are doing, but the monetization of their businesses is always the case. So this is a very cool trick to help them. You can just ask ChatGPT to provide you a list of those for the relevant type of applications, and it will give you. But for example, talking about the dating apps, you guys know that it also uses some tricky stuff or like dark patterns of monetization in this type of apps. And this is maybe the most interesting part about this business. So what you can do is to ask ChatGPT in a bit different manner. So like in my case, I'm asking what monetization tricks do these services use against users? And it will give you a list of dark patterns the dating apps will use for monetization. And if you ask the same question differently, it will give you a new list of information. Same as when we generate images in a journey, the answer will be always unique or almost always unique. Okay. It's a real cool tool to ideate around naming. So you can describe what your project is about. You can give some keywords that you would want to be a part of your branding or a meaning of your branding, naming, and it will generate you as many options as you will request.
Can I say something, please?
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay.
If the question is at least 8 out of 10.
It's not a question, it's just a note. Because when you ask GPT chat in a different language, or if you ask it like from different country, it gives you another answer. We've tried it within our like community. Yeah. So if you ask it in Ukrainian, if you ask it in English or a language, for example, Spanish, hello, it gives you different answers.
This is super cool. Did you work with playgrounds?
I have screenshots. Yes, it was a like playground. So we tried it in different languages with Ukrainian, English, and also you can like have different answers about who the GPT chat is. Is it a girl? How old it is? Where it is from? What languages it speaks? So yeah, we had like different answers. First, I'm calling it because first it was she that had 20 years. She was 20 years old. And another time she was like in another language, another time he.
It's all right.
And yeah, he was like years old. So yeah, it's like really random.
Okay. So this means that maybe that the conspiracy theory around the ChatGPT that in real world, there are like millions or maybe thousands of real people texting with you online.
Yeah,
and it's just not an AI at all.
It's mimicking with like being some of us.
Yeah, but I have to highlight that they are typing that fast. This is at least the skill that they are getting paid for.
I'm sorry. Yesterday I just saw this picture that a big area with Hindu people, like different like girls and boys, and it's lined up like a GPT chat team.
Okay.
I already had a deal with projects like this that's called AI. And then, yeah, it appeared that it was something like that picture.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. That's fine. Like, I know that the workshop was set just to be 1 hour long, but I don't mind to have another like 15 minutes for you guys. If everyone is okay, I will just continue because we have just more slides here. I hope everyone is okay. You can write class in the chat. What else was that? Okay. Also a good way to use ChatGPT is to generate whatever text. As I mentioned, it was like some description or even blog posts or even articles if you do your best, but it can even help you to communicate with your clients and even with the people who you don't like much. If there is like anyone here who has never tried ChatGPT, we can try it right now if you wish. I know that you're a brave person.
It's an illusion.
Sorry?
It's an illusion.
You want me to type that?
No.
I'm
Christina is
suffering
just
someone else
it's
to
just
suggest.
the taller of us all in the first in line.
Yeah.
Yes, in school, and also at the
Yes.
beginning of the alphabetical list of students of destiny.
Okay. So yeah, you can literally ask anything if you wish.
So yeah, let's try maybe a new plot for a new Netflix series. Let's say
Sorry, what was that?
plot for a new Netflix series. Plot.
Well, sorry, got you. Let's give some more input to make sure it will be fun.
Okay, let it be fantasy maybe.
All right.
What else? I need some help, guys.
What the story should be about?
Let's say about love.
About what?
About love. Why not?
Love story.
Love story, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm just thinking how big it could be using this playground. His plot is quite big stuff.
Yeah, I think that you have a lot of space here.
All right. Let's try.
Oh, poor Nick.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's like
Okay, yeah. Could you please share
bad
the
because
Could you please share the text with me? I'll email Netflix for it.
oh
I'm sure the cases, I'm sure that there are like a lot of brand new text and graphic creators appeared because of all these cool AI tools already. Yeah, what will happen to all of us is a cool question. But remember when a tractor appeared, people who were like making the fields using horses, they were against that. It was making them scared of the new technologies. Like I remember a few years ago, people were worried about the 5G connection, right? So this is
don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
yeah, this is just the beginning of the new era. If I'm sure that at least a few people should be with, let's say, 10 years of experience in design here. So maybe you remember how the UI was created with Adobe Photoshop. Are there anyone who remembers that, or is that only me that's old?
Even now, some people use this.
Oh, no.
I'm even older. I know like paint or something like that.
Yeah, but
I
not
just
for
received-
UI.
I just received like.
What do you
message
mean
from a
paint
man.
is not for UI? Fatima, are you like not really that old?
Are you a UX designer at all? Okay. So yeah. And then later, like in, I guess, 2015 or so, the Sketch was launched and everyone was like, wow, what the hell is going on? What will happen to us? What will happen to Adobe Photoshop? And there was like an option to create a few artboards in just a single file. What? And even Sketch was replaced by Figma. Remember that? I'm sure that some people are still working in Sketch like I did, but something very gonna happen with all of us, with all the creators, with all the IT specialists who will start working with AI. And I'm sure that in a year or so, every second person on the planet will use AI, and SKI will be the new Google that. This is it, guys. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you decided to sign up and even visit this workshop. If you can, that would be like a fair energy exchange. You can find me by this QR code. It will be just a link to all my links, my link tree. You can find my contact and record a video feedback about the workshop. If you do that in English, that would be just perfect. And I would really appreciate that. So let me just
Right.
drop my my link right into the chat.
The
So
comments.
yeah,
Yes.
okay, here we go. You can find like all my social links there, all my stuff, and even everything what I'm doing. You're welcome, Lucy. I'm happy it was useful. I hope it was useful. I'm sure that it was for the ones who have never faced or ever tried Midjourney or ChatGPT before, because those two tools I found personally really useful in what we are doing. If you think that this work is super cool, you can recommend to book my workshop, which will be more advanced for your design team if you work in a company, for example, or just post something nice on socials about it and tag me. And this is super highly appreciated.